been a bunch of rumors floating around lately that Universal could eventually revisit one of its forgotten classic horror movies, Son of Dracula. Nothing has been officially announced, so everything being discussed right now should be treated as speculation. But because classic monster movies have been making a comeback over the past few years, fans have started wondering whether Son of Dracula could finally get a modern reboot. There are even rumors suggesting that the studio could go with a younger cast while bringing in a major Hollywood star like Keanu Reeves in a supporting role. Another name that keeps showing up in online discussions is Timothée Chalamet, with some fans imagining him as the mysterious new version of Count Alucard. Again, none of this has been confirmed, but it has definitely sparked plenty of conversations among horror fans. Before talking about those reboot rumors, it's worth looking back at the original movie because many people have never actually seen it. Son of Dracula was released in 1943 as part of Universal's legendary monster series. Instead of simply repeating the story of Dracula in Transylvania, the movie decided to do something different by bringing the famous vampire to America. That alone made it stand out because most vampire stories during that era stayed firmly rooted in Europe. Universal wanted to explore what would happen if Dracula's legacy reached an entirely different part of the world, and that fresh setting gave the movie its own identity. The film stars Lon Chaney Jr. as Count Alucard, and even his name hides one of the movie's biggest clues. At first, Alucard sounds like a completely different vampire, although viewers eventually realize that Alucard is simply Dracula spelled backward. That clever little twist became one of the most memorable details from the movie, and fans still reference it today because it perfectly fits the mysterious atmosphere surrounding the Count. The story begins in Louisiana, where Catherine Caldwell comes from a wealthy family that owns a large plantation known as Dark Oaks. Unlike most people around her, Catherine has a deep fascination with the supernatural. She isn't interested in ghost stories simply for entertainment, because she genuinely believes there is hidden knowledge waiting to be discovered. Because of that obsession, she invites Count Alucard to America herself, and from the very beginning, it becomes obvious that she has her own secret reasons for wanting him there. Not long after Alucard arrives, tragedy strikes the Caldwell family. Catherine's father, Colonel Caldwell, suddenly dies from what appears to be a heart attack. His death creates immediate tension because his estate is divided between his two daughters. Catherine inherits the family plantation known as Dark Oaks, while her sister Claire receives the family's financial fortune. Although everything appears normal on the surface, the timing of Colonel Caldwell's death feels suspicious enough to make everyone uncomfortable. Things become even more shocking when Catherine unexpectedly marries Count Alucard almost immediately after her father's death. The decision completely blindsides everyone around her, especially her longtime fiancé, Frank Stanley. He cannot understand why Catherine would suddenly abandon the man she supposedly loved in favor of a mysterious foreign nobleman who had only recently arrived in town. Everything happens so quickly, so Frank becomes convinced that something sinister is happening behind the scenes. His suspicions continue growing until he finally confronts Catherine and Alucard at Dark Oaks. During the heated argument, Frank completely loses control and pulls out a gun. He fires directly at Alucard, expecting to kill him, although something impossible happens instead. The bullets simply pass through Alucard's body as though he isn't even human. Instead, Catherine is struck by the gunfire. Thinking he has accidentally murdered the woman he still loves, Frank panics and rushes away to bring Dr. Brewster back to help. When Dr. Brewster finally reaches Dark Oaks, he expects to find a crime scene. Instead, he discovers Catherine alive alongside Alucard as though absolutely nothing had happened. The strange couple calmly explains that they plan to spend their time conducting scientific research, although they insist that anyone wishing to visit should only come after sunset. That request immediately raises red flags because it sounds completely unnatural, and Brewster begins realizing that something far more mysterious may be happening. Meanwhile, Frank remains convinced that Catherine died from the shooting. Filled with guilt, he goes directly to the authorities and confesses everything. But when the sheriff investigates Dark Oaks, he actually discovers Catherine's lifeless body and sends it away to the morgue. Suddenly, Frank's confession appears completely accurate, and he is arrested for murder. Frank suddenly realizes that time is running out because if Alucard isn't stopped soon, both of them may lose their humanity forever. Although Frank struggles with this terrifying revelation, he eventually understands that Alucard must be destroyed. Catherine explains one crucial weakness shared by all vampires: they depend on their coffins as safe places during daylight because sunlight will destroy them if they have nowhere to hide. That single piece of information becomes the key to ending the nightmare. Frank manages to escape from jail and tracks down Alucard's hidden coffin. Knowing exactly what must be done, he sets the coffin on fire before sunrise. Alucard no longer has any protection from daylight, so the rising sun leaves him completely vulnerable. As morning arrives, the vampire is finally destroyed. Dr. Brewster, Professor Laszlo, and the sheriff later discover only his burned remains, confirming that the ancient monster has finally been defeated. Although Alucard is gone, the story still refuses to deliver a happy ending. Frank continues searching for Catherine because he refuses to abandon her, even after everything that has happened. Eventually, he discovers her lying inside her own coffin, trapped between life and death by the curse she willingly accepted. Looking at the woman he still loves, Frank realizes there is no miracle that can restore her humanity. Before saying goodbye forever, Frank quietly removes his wedding ring and gently places it on Catherine's finger. It serves as one final expression of the love they once shared before darkness consumed her life. Then, with heartbreaking determination, he sets her coffin ablaze as well. The flames bring an end to her suffering while also ending any chance they could have shared a future together. When Dr. Brewster, Professor Laszlo, and the sheriff finally arrive, they silently watch as Frank mourns the devastating loss of the woman he never stopped loving. That emotional ending remains one of the reasons Son of Dracula still stands apart from many other classic Universal monster movies. It isn't simply about defeating a vampire, because it also tells a tragic love story where ambition and the desire for immortality ultimately destroy everything. That is exactly why some fans believe a modern reboot could work today. Instead of focusing only on horror, filmmakers could explore the emotional relationship between Frank, Catherine, and Alucard while expanding the supernatural mythology. According to online rumors, Universal may be considering bringing back several of its classic monsters in new ways, and Son of Dracula is one title that keeps appearing in fan speculation. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. And don't forget to like this video, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments section down below.